It is 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Glad to have you on a Tuesday afternoon. BJ Bennett alongside Ben Troop. A lot to get to, Ben, as the Atlanta Braves, of course, in a couple of days will debut, have opening day against the Cincinnati Reds. Kevin McAlpin of the Braves Radio Network will join us. We'll also, Christian was talking about this a little bit, chat with Anthony Trache of PFF. His mock draft, latest mock draft, is out as the draft is coming up at the end of the month. Rich Stiles of the Back Nine Boys will join us in about 15 minutes. Have you heard the news out of Augusta?
Absolutely, BJ. I mean, you have to be living under a rock. Whenever Tiger Woods makes the decision or potentially makes the decision to say he's going to play on Thursday, everything stops. And I think it goes back to what we talked about yesterday, BJ, with so much going on. It used to be, what are you going to talk about in the offseason? National championships in women's basketball, national championships in men's basketball, spring practice, the draft. Oh, and Tiger Woods just happens to be in the gutter saying he's probably going to play in the Masters when he haven't played in the tournament all season long.
That's right. So we'll chat with Rich. Kansas beats North Carolina, largest comeback in championship game history for the men's national championship last night. But the news of the day, Savannah State has a new head football coach. The Tigers hire Aaron Kelton, previously the cornerbacks coach, recruiting coordinator at Howard, was also the interim head coach at Howard, was the head coach at Shorter and Williams, among other stops, was a co-defensive coordinator at Morgan State. Savannah State did a national search, had 4 finalists. Aaron Kelton hired as the new head coach of the Tigers.
I want to go ahead and say this first and foremost before I even get into Coach Helton. Look, I know that when you talk about Savannah State and how this hire came about, I know it's a little unusual if we call them that. We think about a coaching cycle, BJ, but I trust what OPO is doing up there. I trust what they're doing in the football staff. And I just think sometimes when you think about a team like Savannah State, for which I'll get more into when I'm comparing my college experience compared to my sister, who was also a collegiate athlete at a HBCU, I think sometimes you got to just trust the process. The process isn't something you're not going to get the totality of a thing in the beginning. But BJ, you mentioned it. Recruiting. I mean, listen. Cornerbacks coach, recruiting coordinator at Howard, interim head coach at Howard, head coach at Shorter, and Williams, co-defensive coordinator at Morgan State. So he's been around a long time. He understands the ins and outs of this thing. And, we got to wait to see when it comes to, coach Aaron Helton. Aaron Kelton. He comes with a very, very long resume of working, with collegiate athletes, football players, not just from the head coach. I think being a recruiting coordinator, he understands what it takes to recruit. Being a position coach, he understands that. I mean, being a co-defensive coordinator and being in different spots, because I think the one thing you want to, with a head coach, is you want that person to be well-rounded. I don't want you to be known for just one thing. What is your experience on the defense? What is your experience in recruiting? What is your experience in the front office? What is your experience, working with boosters and alumni and so on and so forth? I believe that Savannah State did their due diligence. Now, the timing is going to be a little head-scratcher, but it is the spring. The spring has begun in Savannah State. Give these young players a lot of credit. This is the same team that did not have football during the pandemic. They did not have it. Was forced to play 2 games the next year. Still a team that values itself and what it does in the community. A team that values itself on teamwork. So as much as I know this is going to be about Coach Aaron Kelton, and rightfully so, don't lose sight of the fact that these young athletes, they are wise beyond their years. There are most people. If somebody said, hey, man, I'm going to take everything you've ever loved, ever wanted, and I'm going to take it away from you, and you do not know when you're going to get it back. And when we do give it back to you, we're going to give it to you in 2 games. And yet when you go out the next year, without having a football season the previous year, you still successful. Your first year going to Division II, the only reason why you didn't make the playoffs because they didn't vote you in. So the play on the field, and the product on the field is there. In the midst of all the different things that goes on in Savannah State, which I will get into on another day, but I give OPO, I give all the decision makers up there a lot of credit. They are always doing what's in the best interest of these athletes. Yes, because of social media, BJ, we're going to get a lot of opinions coming in a lot of directions, and I don't think you're wrong with whatever opinion you have. But if you're not in that building, that's all it is. You do not know how decisions are made. You do not know what goes into it, and let's just call it what it really is. When we're talking about Kennesaw State, when we're talking about Georgia, we're talking about Georgia Tech, Georgia Southern. They're operating at a different level resource-wise than Savannah State is. I hope that Savannah State, was able to get the type of resource they want, but But listen, great hire, BJ. I mean, Aaron Kelton comes in with a nice pedigree as far as like what he's done in coaching. And yet it's to be seen. It's going to be if any team is built to deal with adversity with getting a head coach named in the spring, I think it's Savannah State.
And Coach Kelton, the 27th head coach at Savannah State. Christian Gokel actually had a chance to chat with Coach on second down. We will share that in just a little bit. You mentioned spring practice started yesterday. You have Coach Russell Damasi, who did a great job at Savannah State. Other coaches who are moving on. Spring practice started yesterday. Coach Kelton comes in. How do you manage that situation? I know you went through a coaching change in college. How do you manage the situation of spring's already started? You have a timeline that's sort of exaggerated already. What are the top priorities in your mind as Coach Kelton comes in to Savannah State?
He got to earn the trust of his players. That's the first thing every coach has to do. Let's call it what it is. I went through a coaching change when I was at the University of Florida while Ron Zook came from the National Football League, was on the previous coaching staff with Coach Spurrier. I did not know who he was. I had already chosen. Listen, forget the fact that I chose Coach Spurrier. I chose the University of Florida before him. Obviously, when he came in, I mean, he had to earn the trust first. The X's and the O's are going to take care of itself. The wins and the losses, BJ, last time I checked, there are no ties in college football. There's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser. But show us why you want to be at Savannah State, not just because you're here. Show us why. Because as a player, we're always the last to know. We're not while they're keeping our best interests in mind. We're not sitting there with who was Jeremy Foley at the time saying, "Hey Ben, who do you guys want?" Because you're going to have 85 different opinions going in 85 different directions. We're still trying to figure out who we are. Forget players. I'm trying to figure out who I am as a young man, because I got two responsibilities every day, both in the classroom and out there on the field. But I also got to trust that if I consider myself to be one of the best players and athletes on the planet, I believe anybody can coach me. I believe I want that coach to bring the best out of me. I say this all the time. While Steve Spurrier was the coach I chose, Ron Zook was the coach I needed because he's coming with a different mentality. And I got to understand that this coach is coming in saying, look, I don't want to just be here just to be here. When you think about BJ, when you think about the level or the level of exposure that HBCUs are on because of Deion Sanders and Hugh Jack, and you look at guys like Eddie George, Savannah State wants to be in that. Hey, we're one of the oldest and premier HBCUs in the state of Georgia. Hey, we're about as far east as you're gonna get in America. We're right here, that little tip of Georgia, that's us right there. So I think that it's like a new coach brings in a renewed energy, saying, all right, fellas, everything is new, clean slate. Love what y'all have done. Let's take that, let's build on what y'all have done, and let's make this thing worth it, because I'm gonna be here and I want to make sure, but coaches don't play, players do. So I do think BJ, his first thing is show these players, hey man, prove it does. Like, meaning, I know that you don't usually hear a player say that to a coach, but I'm like, Coach, I get it. I'm reading the resume. But BJ, if I'm representing you as an athlete, doesn't matter what I did for other athletes. What can I do for you? Because I saw what you did for him. What about me? Because how you feel about what somebody does for you is based on what they did for you, not what they did for somebody else. We will see, but I think these players are built to handle it, because, like I said, we don't see the adversity, we hear about it. It goes back to what I say about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence had about as unusual of a rookie year as you're ever going to have, and he still played. And they still kept the Colts from going to the playoffs. That's something you can build off of. If you're Savannah State, it ain't never going to be the record on the field, BJ. The two games that they played in, that second of the two games that they played, I think they scored 80 points. It was ridiculous. Shout out to the Savannah State, to the former staff, Coach Damasi and all you guys. You guys did a hell of a job with what you did with these young people. That is, just because you're not on the current staff don't mean you didn't do your job when you was there. All staffs move on. I've seen staffs get dismantled and they had a good season. So never ever think that your efforts go unnoticed. We appreciate you guys. I know those Savannah State players appreciate you guys. But BJ, when new coaches come with new regimes, that just happens.
You mentioned program that's had a lot of success, high expectations. Coach Kelton, undoubtedly comes in with high expectations. What's next? How do you get to that next level? And how important is this spring going to be to transition into summer, into fall?
See what you got. I want to see what I have as a team. I want to see who my leaders are on the team. I want to see what I've been hearing. Because make no mistake about it, Coach Kelton, he know about what's going on with Savannah State. Don't think that these coaches just pulled out the blue. No, I know about Savannah State. I know about the tradition. I know about the history. I know y'all went from Division I to Division II. I know y'all rivals are right over there at Valdosta State. You know all these things, right? And West Georgia and things of that nature. But I want to build off what got started. Listen. The ceiling that y'all have is my floor. That's where I'm starting at. And this is about as great of a start as you're going to get. And let's say this too. I don't know if this is to be the case, but who's to say that Coach Kelton didn't talk to every last coach who was on this previous staff and say, man, I appreciate what y'all built. Because y'all give me some insight on some of these players. And I'm pretty sure they do. I don't know how these things will never been a part of a coaching staff, BJ, but this is the fun part. BJ, it's something, listen. The best shoe you wear, is not the new shoe. It's the shoe you've been have. The funnest shoe you can't wait to wear is the one that's still in the box, but you're waiting for that perfect occasion. Right now, the head coach is the new shoe. It's a new occasion. It's a new day in Savannah State. Shout out to Coach Sean Quinn, too. I mean, you can't, what he started there as well, but it's not a sad day, man. It's really, really not. I think that Savannah State goes, hey, man, we've done everything else the uncommon way, right? Why do something different now? But, BJ, they get their coach second day of spring practice. So, all right, so we know what that is. Because the players were still waiting who's going to be our head coach. Obviously, they had somebody in mind based off the staff that they already had. You get Coach Kelton. All right, he's a new guy. He do his preliminary press conference. He do his preliminary team meeting. It's right back to practice. He's out there looking around. And it's a renewed energy, BJ, because I can't say this. When Ron Zook got there to Florida, because I've never heard this. Clean slate. What? But I thought he was the starter. He was. I thought that they was going to be on the first. Everybody's being pushed. So who's ever on the first team come to fall, you earned it now. So think about what that does. So now I'm not going home. So I went from the backup tight end to no. You play tight end. You were the spring on the side who's the first team, second team. So we'll see. Hopefully that does happen. But I give Coach. Listen, I'm gonna give him the clean slate to say, man, I think he's gonna do well because he's adopting a really, really good football team that's shown. Most teams you don't know what they built for. I think you know what you got going on in Savannah.
Yeah, absolutely. So welcome to Coach Kelton to Savannah State. You wish Coach DeMasi and the previous staff the best. Did a great job. Did a great job. But Savannah State hires Aaron Kelton, again, previously the cornerbacks coach and recruiting coordinator at Howard, the 27th head coach in Savannah State football history. And we will hear from Coach Kelton coming up in the final hour as Christian had a chance to chat with him on second down. We'll come back, talk Tiger. Rich Stiles will join us next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. BJ Bennett, Ben Troop, back here with you on 3 and Out. And of course, everybody's talking about the Masters. Everybody's talking about Tiger Woods. Tiger going to be a go. And with us now was in Augusta yesterday to talk about Tiger Woods and the Masters. From the Back Nine Boys, you hear him every weekend, Rich Styles. Rich, good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, BJ. Hope you guys are doing well.
Thanks so much for coming on. So react to the news for us. Tiger Woods looks like he's going to go. I mean, incredible. What was your initial reaction when you saw the quote?
I wasn't really surprised because he had been there since last week, and he had practiced on Sunday and Monday, and everybody said he was looking good. He was feeling good. I think the biggest thing is Tiger going to be able to walk the hilly course at Augusta. When he came out yesterday on practice Monday, you would have thought Elvis was alive. I mean, the crowd just swarmed over to where he was, and they followed him through 9 holes when he was playing with Freddie Couples and Justin Thomas. It was just an incredible moment at Augusta National to see Tiger back out, defying reality. 14 months after almost losing his leg. At one time, they talked about a possible amputation. And here he is back at what he calls a special place in my heart at Augusta National.
And Rich, I mean, you talk about it. I mean, he walks out. You mentioned like he has that Elvis type aura. People following him. Tiger Woods in golf. Like, obviously, there are people who know who he is, have never seen him play. Most of the time when you hear the word icon, that means the guy, male or female, no longer does what they do. He's an icon walking, but do you think that the 14-month layoff, do you think that the plan was always maybe to hopefully play in this tournament?
I always think because this is such a special tournament to Tiger Woods. I mean, he won it with his dad here. He won it with his son here. I think this is just, as he says, this is a special place in my heart. And I think maybe this was his game plan, as you said, maybe all along was to come back at Augusta, and his rehab was going good. He feels strong. There is a noticeable difference in his gait, the way he walks. You can definitely see that he is not walking with the ease that he used to, but I'm honestly marvel at the fact that he's even there, that he's walking up and down this golf course, and he's going to try. He is going to play. He's not going to try. He is going to play. And here's the other thing. When Tiger Woods gets into a tournament, there is no doubt Tiger is going to play, and Tiger wants to win.
Rich, that's what I was going to ask you. Tiger was asked if he believes he can win the Masters this week, and he said, I do. What are the expectations here for Tiger Woods?
Well, I think first is he's played a couple of days in a row. He's walked 9 holes. How does he feel? We really don't know until we see how he is in the mornings of each day after he plays. Thursday, he's going to play 18 holes. He's going to play another 18 on Friday. If he makes the cut, I think that's going to be one test of his leg and his game. And then obviously if he makes it into the weekend, if he's anywhere close, I mean, Freddie Couples is calling him, a phenom. And Freddie said he's too good. He's too good. He said it more than once that, Tiger is hitting the ball well. He's putting well. His chipping is great. The biggest test is going to be, can he walk up and down the hills of Augusta National? When I was there yesterday, I had no clubs. We were just kind of walking around. I did 14,500 steps. Now, Tiger's probably not going to be in the places that I was. Tiger's going to be walking the fairways most of the time and onto the greens, but it's still a very hilly, and a lot of people don't realize how hilly and how up and down you have to play. And here's one of the keys. A lot of his lies and a lot of his stances are not going to be on level ground. So the test is going to be, how will he and his leg stand up during that time? And that'll be a big test on his leg.
Rich, I know you mentioned, when you talk about a guy like Tiger Woods, when he say that he can, if he say he can go, who's going to question what he brings to the table? I was talking to our own Christian Gokel, and he said, and I believe it, there are certain people you just can't count out because there's no stat to kind of quantify who they are and what they bring to the table. Tiger just happens to be that guy. He's the Michael Jordan. He's the Wayne Gretzky. He's the Nolan Ryan. There are certain guys to where you just can't count them out. I know the plan is for Tiger, like you mentioned, to make the cut. Be there on Saturday, be there on Sunday. If he does make the cut, and just say he doesn't win it, but he's in contention to win it. Where does that even measure up with everything Tiger has done in his career?
Oh, gosh. I mean, it's got to be one of the greatest comebacks. I mean, you talk about Kansas coming back against the Tar Heels. This would be far and above even more. I mean, 14 months ago, we never knew if this guy was going to have two legs or one, if he was going to lose his leg. He broke it in a car accident. I mean, he's lucky he wasn't hurt more than he was. But for him to be able to come back and play in December with his son in the father-son down at PNC in Orlando, and now to come back and be able to play at Augusta National with the challenge of the hills and the valleys and the side lies and the up and down lies. I mean, I just think it's probably one of the top three as far as comebacks and in any sport.
Rich Stiles, Back Nine Boys, here with us on 3 and Out. You mentioned you were there yesterday. I mean, what's the energy like? We've seen the pictures of the crowds. Obviously, it's the Masters, but now with this news, what's the energy like around the tournament?
Well, you can't get a ticket, that's for sure. I mean, so whatever tickets are out there, they're out there. But I think the energy now that people have seen him, a Tiger sighting was just incredible yesterday. But to now know that he is going to give it a go, and that he really thinks that he can win, I think the energy is going to be just off the charts.
And Rich, I mean, you mentioned, there's a Tiger sighting, and the Tiger makes it clear, I'm going to go on Thursday. What is the mood around? What is the mood with the other players that's going to be in the tournament? Obviously, they respect Tiger. He birthed an entire generation of some of these guys, as far as the red polo and the black pants on Sunday. But how is the mood been when the other guys in this tournament?
Well, I think they're all thrilled that Tiger's going to be there. I mean, this is one of those tournaments where it's an invitational, so he's not taking anybody else's spot, like it would be in a normal PGA tournament. This is an invitational. He's a past winner. He deserves to be there. He always said he was going to go to the Champions Dinner, which is tonight. And Hideki Matsuyama is going to host the dinner. He's already got his menu out. But Tiger was always going to go to Tuesday night. Whether or not he was going to be able to play was in question. It's not now. And I think the other guys that are there, past champions, guys that are in the field, guys that are not even in the field, I think they're thrilled that Tiger Woods is back. He's going to play in the Masters after 14 months of a very serious accident.
Rich, how do you think he's going to do? I mean, what are your expectations, and what's going to be the biggest key for him if he's going to be in contention on Sunday?
Well, I think there's no one out there that knows the course better than Tiger Woods. I don't care how many times you've played it. He's won multiple times. He knows the course. He knows the nuances. He knows where he needs to put the ball. But I think the big key is, can he sustain 36 holes on Thursday and Friday combined in order to have his leg be okay for the weekend? I think it'd be fantastic, first of all, period, that he's even going to try and play, but that he's going to try and make the cut. If he makes the cut, I think it's just going to be fantastic. I really do.
And Rich, I mean, you're an avid golfer. You know what a guy like Tiger Woods means to the sport of golf. What does it mean to a person like yourself, a fan walking around just loving this tournament first, but a guy like Tiger Woods who means about as much to a sport as I've ever seen? What does it mean to a person like yourself?
It means a lot. It means I'll be watching the Masters. I won't be doing much else. And thank goodness there's nothing else to compete with it. And the Masters is one of those tournaments where, it's on almost all the time. So based on the networks and the TV coverage that's going to be out there, I can't wait to watch it. And it'll make me feel, because I was there yesterday, make me feel like, oh, I was there. I won't be in the same place as he was, but I'm a fan. There's no doubt.
And Rich, I think we all think Tiger could be there. Who do you think are some of the other top contenders when you look at this tournament and look at this weekend?
Well, you got to look at Justin Thomas. I mean, that's his his bro, that's his buddy. Justin's got the game to do it. There's probably 15 or 20 other guys that have a chance to do it. I think you got to look at Scotty Scheffler. I mean, this guy has been incredibly hot since the Ryder Cup. I mean, he was the only one on the Ryder Cup that had not had a PGA Tour win. Since then, he's had 3. So, you got to look at those. You got to look at, Xander Schauffele. You got to look at Colin Morikawa. I mean, these guys have got the game and they've got the ability to putt. Justin Rose, Rory McIlroy. Everybody would love to see Rory make it to make, the the final Masters, the final 4 that he needs to have to win all 4 majors. They would love to see that, but I just think that there's probably 15 or 20 guys that are going to have the opportunity to win the Masters.
And Rich, I mean, you talked about it when it comes to this tournament and taking nothing away from the other tournaments on the PGA Tour. I mean, but when you talk about the prestige, you talk about the dinner tonight. I mean, you talk about the par 3 challenge. You talk about the many memories that's happened on Augusta National. What makes Augusta National so much better than the rest? And what about these crazy memories that just continue to happen year in and year out?
Well, there is a magic about Augusta National. Even if you've ever been, it's just magical to go back, to be able to walk the course, to be able to see the course, the leaderboard, spend a lot of money buying stuff that they all, do. But Augusta National, Bobby Jones designed the golf course, the history of Bobby Jones, the world's greatest amateur. It's just got that mystique, and it's got the attention of every golfer out there. And I think if you had a chance to say, do you want to win the Players, a PGA Championship, the Open, or the Masters, which would you like to win? I think, without a doubt, 75% would say, I'd like to win the Masters. And one of the reasons you'd like to win the Masters is no matter what, you can come back and play all the time, providing you can play. Look at Bernhard Langer, 64 years old. He'll be back trying to compete, trying to make the cut, making more history. So the Masters is unlike any other.
Rich Stiles of the Back Nine Boys, our guest here on 3 and Out. Rich, thanks so much.
All right, guys. Thank you for having me.
And Ben, I mean, the excitement level here off the charts.
Yeah, Tiger Woods, he moves the needle like nobody does, BJ. And I think sometimes when you think about golf, let's face it, I mean, I'm not the biggest golf fan you ever seen, but Tiger Woods transcends the sport, but he makes you want to watch. There are certain people that make you want to watch. It was one of those where were you or who's who. Tiger just happens to be both. Hey, man, Tiger Woods, what? His plane landed on on the weekend? People like, oh, is it? He confirmed today? Yes. Do you think you can win it? I do. Like, think about it. 2 words. Think you can play? Think you can win it? I do. And that's it. Like, mic drop, we'll see what happens. But look, I have learned to not bet against certain people, and Tiger Woods is at the top of that list.
Braves open on Thursday. Kevin McAlpin will join us next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It is 3 and Out. BJ Bennett, Ben Troop here with you. Opening day for the Atlanta Braves coming up on Thursday. The defending World Series champion Atlanta Braves. And with us now to talk Braves from the Braves Radio Network, Kevin McAlpin. Kevin, good afternoon. How are you?
Doing well, guys. How about yourself?
Doing great. How would you evaluate spring? Where is this team as we, of course, get ready to have opening day on Thursday?
Well, I think they're in a good spot. I really do. I think you look at the additions they made this offseason, and it's hard to argue they haven't gotten better than the team that held up the trophy on November 2nd in Houston. Matt Olson going to be a big presence in the middle of the order. Obviously, there's the Freddie Freeman story, but this is a guy that Brave fans are going to love. They're going to love watching Matt Olson, and they're going to do it for the next 8 years here in Atlanta. Kenley Jansen, Colin McHugh added to what was already a really stout bullpen. So it's a good team. It's a really, really good team, and it's one that has the same mantra they've had the last few years. It's World Series or bust for the 2022 Braves. They know it's not going to be easy. This division's going to challenge them every single night. Obviously, there's the Dodgers still looking like they're on a collision course with each other once again in October. But it's a really good ball club. They're meshing really well. And any conversation or talking points about what the chemistry is going to be like with this group, you can put that to rest. It's a group that really likes being around each other, and they're going to have a lot of fun. And more importantly, lay it all out there when they take the field starting on Thursday.
Kevin, when you say things like World Series or bust, I mean, when you think about a guy like Alex Anthopoulos, him and Snit, I mean, those guys, are really joined at the hip 4 years ago. Everybody was thinking, you got this young phenom, Ronald Acuna Jr. I mean, we are past the days of guys like Mike Fulton, Max Fried getting the start. I mean, talk about the job Alex Anthopoulos has done, because people forget, once again, he took over a front office that was in shambles like I've never seen before. 4 years later, here they are hoisting up the World Series trophy, and they're doing it the Braves way.
Well, and that's the big thing. And Alex, to me, should have been the executive of the year last year. I mean, his track record speaks for itself. You look at what he has done for this ball club, whether it's locking up guys like Acuna and Albies to long-term, very team-friendly deals, whether it's the moves at the deadline last year. I think that those were all names that weren't exactly the sexiest of names that were out there on the market that were available via trade. But he found holes in his roster and plugged them with guys who just came in, fit in from day one. Whether it was Jock Peterson or Jorge Soler or Eddie Rosario or Richard Rodriguez, who I know it didn't work out for Richard long-term, but boy, he logged some big innings for you in a couple of weeks span in late August into early September until things fell apart for him. So, the fact that he was able to make this team better and see that they were within striking distance a year ago, while I still have a lot of folks on Twitter, I kept the receipts, guys. A lot of folks who said, well, they're 5 games back. It's late July. It's not going to happen. They should sell. This is why you don't sell. And Alex saw that if there was a couple of guys they could plug in there, they had a chance to make a run at it. It didn't hurt that the Mets hadn't run away and hid with the division. It didn't hurt that the Phillies collapsed down the stretch. But again, I think Alex has done a tremendous job. And the emphasis, really is about not only finding great players, but it's finding good clubhouse guys. Alex puts a big emphasis on finding guys that sort of fit the mold of what this clubhouse is all about. Guys that play hard, leave it out there on the field every single night, get along with their teammates. He does a lot of research and all the way down to guys who work in the clubhouse, to bat boys and chefs in kitchens who have known guys to find out all you need to know about these players. They all, to a man, got along very quickly in this group. And again, it's a big reason why they emerged as World Series champs last year.
Kevin McAlpin, Braves Radio Network, here with us on 3 and Out. Kevin, when do you think we see Ronald Acuna, and could we see him in a DH role first?
Well, they're saying early May, but I had a chance to watch Ronald a couple of weeks ago down in Northport, and I got to tell you, he looks ready. I mean, he really, really does. The ball is flying off his bat. He's moving around without any, hesitancy as far as, getting his work in. I've got a feeling that if he continues to progress like he is, it may end up being late April. It may be a little bit earlier than we thought, which again is remarkable when you initially saw the injury and thought, man, this could be July, June, July of the following year till we see him back out there. It's incredible how hard he's worked this offseason to get himself back to where he needs to be. He looks good. He's stronger than ever. And I think that, guys, when you do see him back out there, he's going to be a man on a mission to get back to his MVP form from a year ago. As far as the DH is concerned, I do think you'll see, probably play right field a couple of days, then get a DH day, and then play a couple of days in the field and DH again. I don't think they're going to just run him out there in the outfield every single day. I think you can ease him in, and that's the luxury now, right, of having the DH in the National League. You can do something like that you haven't done in the past. So, again, I think that there is a chance. I'll leave the door open. There's a chance we see Ronald before May the 1st, just given what I saw and the reports that I heard down in Northport a couple of weeks ago.
Kevin, you mentioned Matt Olson when you first came on. Obviously, it's going to be a sour taste because of who he's filling in for with a guy like Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman in his career has the most he's had, like 38 home runs. I think Matt Olson had 39 last year. When you think about this infield with Dansby, with Ozzie, Austin Riley, I mean, adding a guy like Matt Olson, how dangerous could this infield be even if you are replacing Freddie Freeman with Matt Olson?
Well, and that's the thing, the big thing for me is everyone talks about Olson's offense, and rightfully so, because the numbers definitely jump off the page. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of folks on the East Coast that are familiar with Matt and understand how good of a ball player he is. It's sort of a byproduct of playing in Oakland all those years. You don't really get the headlines that you would by playing maybe in a bigger market. But look, offensively and defensively, this team is solid. The infield almost came close to having all four guys hit 30 bombs a year ago. Look, I'm not going to say that Dansby is going to be on that path again where he hits 30. I think if he hits 20 or more, you're thrilled by that kind of production from a guy like Dansby. But it's a deep lineup. It's a talented group. Let me put it in perspective for you guys. Dansby had 27 homers a year ago. There's a chance he's hitting 8th or 9th in this lineup here in 2022. Again, shows you just how deep and talented of a ball club it is. Austin Riley, kudos to him. He got better on both sides of the ball. Again, offensively is where it stands out, but defensively, I mean, my goodness, the strides he made last year were incredible. Ozzie, just keeps on doing it, man. I mean, he's such a consistent, steady ball player. He does everything right. So yeah, this infield has a chance to be right up there as one of the best infields in baseball yet again. And again, that's saying something. When you take Freddie Freeman out, he goes over to LA. You know how good that infield is with guys like Turner and Muncy and now Freeman. I think this has a chance to be just as good, if not better, when all's said and done.
Kevin, is this the best bullpen in baseball?
Well, if it's not, I'd love to know who's better. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think even, when you look at what they can do in the 9th inning, I mean, you're going to have Kenley Jansen start the year as your closer. Let's say there's a situation where you have 3 saves the first week of the season. Well, now you turn to Will Smith, and you look at his numbers down the stretch. He was terrific last season and into the postseason. And then you've got Minter and Matzek from the left side, who were outstanding last year. I mean, Matzek, my goodness, where in the world did that come from last year? It hurts to lose Luke Jackson. There's no doubt about it. I know Luke's certainly a spark plug as far as social media is concerned when he's not going well. But you look at what he did, guys, 71 appearances last year in the regular season and a sub-2 ERA. You're doing something right when you put up those kind of numbers. You're going to get Kirby Yates for the second half. That, I think, is a huge, sneaky good addition for the Braves. He led the league in saves back in 2019. Colin McHugh, another really good weapon to have in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning. If this isn't the best bullpen in baseball, I'd love for somebody to challenge me and tell me who's better. Because on paper, and we all know we don't play these games on paper, but on paper, this has a chance to be. I mean, you think back to the O'Ventrell days with Kimbrel, O'Flaherty, Benners. That was a really good bullpen. That was 3 guys. This is like 8 or 9 guys now. I mean, everybody in that bullpen is one of the best in the game at their position. So it's got a chance to put up some monster numbers this year.
And Kevin, finally, when you think about the fact that we're going to have baseball, I mean, the lockout started in December. It was getting a little weary as far as like going back and forth. Both sides actually came to an agreement to have baseball, kicking off, a couple of days away. How impressed were you with not just the owners, but the players kind of using their leverage and saying, listen, there's certain things that we want. There's certain things we can't budge off of. And they was able to go out there and kind of like defeat these owners at the negotiating table.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that, part of that was the players just feeling like they kind of got the short end the last couple of negotiations, and they were really dug in on some things they really wanted to see change here, for the next 5 years. And look, ultimately, there was 99 days of me going to bed every night saying, man, I don't know when we're going to see baseball. Maybe it's June, maybe it's July. Heck, I think it was Buster Olney who tweeted, but it was either Buster Olney or somebody else from ESPN early on in like March or late February saying there's a chance they could lose the whole season. And I'm thinking, my goodness, that thought never even entered my head. But the fact they were able to finally get it done, look, it takes give and take on both sides, right? You know, both sides had things they wanted to accomplish. Ultimately, there's going to be give and take when you have negotiations like this. But yeah, look, the players definitely came out on top on this one. And again, look, I know there's some folks going, well, what does a $35-40 million a year player need to get even more for? It was more for the younger players. It was more for the rookies and for the guys who are making the league minimum. I know that, you know, 600, 700 grand a year, I think we'd all take that and be very happy with it. But when you're a ball player, man, that money goes quick, whether it's agents or, you know, your dues or, you know, just all the other things that come along with being a ball player. I'm glad to see those guys are getting a raise and really getting rewarded for getting to the big leagues. It's really hard to get there. It's harder to stay there. So I like the fact that these guys will be a little more rewarded for all their hard efforts and long bus rides in the minors for all those years to finally get here and, you know, more incentive to work hard and stay here.
Kevin McAlpin, Braves Radio Network, Braves and Reds on Thursday night. Kevin, thanks so much for the time and looking forward to the start of the season.
Yep, you got it, fellas. Appreciate it.
Kevin McAlpin, Braves Radio Network, defending World Series champs. Going to be really good once again. We'll come back with more 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kansas, champs, win the NCAA men's championship last night. The Jayhawks do over the North Carolina Tar Heels, and that game was a 15-point North Carolina advantage at halftime. Kansas overcomes a 16-point lead. Was North Carolina's largest lead. That is the largest comeback in championship game history. So credit the resiliency of Kansas. But I'm not going to lie. When North Carolina went on that 15-16-0 run late in the first half, I thought it was over. Kansas battles back. Great finish, great game. Jayhawks win the national title.
BJ, David McCormack coming out of halftime was smiling at his teammates. He says, he was looking at me and I was like, why are you smiling, dude? We're down 15, Christian Braun said. He was telling me, keep your head up, keep going. We'll be all right. We've been here before. I was like, man, I don't know if I've ever been here before. Down 15 in the national championship game, I've definitely never been there. He said, but we're just proud of him. He kept us going, and they obviously he hit a really, really big shot. But then he said, I smiled, McCormack acknowledged. I laughed down 15. I said, we're built for this. Just go out there and have fun. When you let loose and have fun, the game will come to you offensively, defensively, whatever you need. That's exactly what we did. I came out smart, and I was ready for the second half. I think sometimes—
What an amazing mindset when you're down 15.
Well, think about this, though, BJ. When you think about this Kansas team, they've had adversity before, and I think they was talking about it after the game. But when your best player is the common influence, and he also does it with his play, it's hard to beat. I mean, BJ, down 16, down 15 at the half, but 16. I mean, you come back and win this thing in dramatic fashion. Hey, look, North Carolina, you have nothing to hang your head over, man. That was
you
a
hate
great
to see
game.
the injury to Armando.
Yeah, you really do.
Late. Yeah,
he hurt that same ankle. I think he did in the previous game. But I will say this: look, while Kansas won last night, we was all winners as onlookers. That was a incredible game, and that's why I say, BJ, I don't trust Lees in basketball because the team.
No, you said that.
I don't trust them. I never ever trust them because look. Both the two best teams in basketball played last night with Kansas coming out to win. Bill Self, congratulations, his second national championship. But hey, man, a hard fought. It was a great game by both teams. I mean, Hubert Davis came up a little bit short, but shout out to them Kansas Jayhawks, BJ, because I know we make so much about the ACC and holding up that flag. I mean, it's hard being Kansas, coming off a team last year with Baylor, but who won it all? But hey, man, shout out to the Big 12, back to back. National championship.
That's right. Baylor, then Kansas, and they had just a great game last night. Great finish, and what a finish to the college basketball season. We'll come back. A lot more to get to here on 3 and Out. Anthony Trace going to join us in just a few minutes. What is up? It is 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. BJ Bennett alongside Ben Troop. A lot to get to here in hour 2 of 3 and Out. We'll talk draft. Anthony Trace, PFF, will join us, his latest mock draft. And Ben, we are getting close, couple of weeks out. Going to be very interesting. The mock drafts are changing a bit. Do you think we're going to have an unpredictable opening round of the draft?
I think we are. As well, we should. I think the suspense is what we kind of do it to ourselves every single year because we know that everybody with an opinion that has a platform has a mock draft. I mean, PJ Zuko, Ben Troop, BJ Bennett, Kevin Thomas mock draft 1.0 will be coming out a week before the draft. It doesn't mean anything, but it's definitely going to get some clicks. No, as much as we know, BJ, that's how much we don't know. The biggest crapshoot in life is the NFL draft, but it's something we talked about, BJ. If we was going through the numbers, BJ, in the car about, FBS, FCS, and you talk about Division 2, about 25,000 football players, 250 some guys are gonna get drafted. So if somebody go, he went number 10, he dropped. Did he? No, he did not. He went 10th out of every eligible draftee there is. So shout out to the mock drafters out there who want to keep making them our own. Cody James Quinn, he's probably making one right now.
Let's bring in PJ Zuko and take 3 here on a Tuesday afternoon.
You got me with that last part. It's so insanely true. He probably not one. He probably's on 8, 9, or 10, something like that. And I would love to see it, to be honest with you. Cody, if you're watching, you know my email. No, but guys, take 1. Last night, obviously, Kansas comes all the way back, gets the victory. How would you describe the finish to North Carolina's season? You have the win over Coach K and Duke there in the Final Four, followed by a blown lead, a large lead, and a blown lead in the national championship game. And even I think a lot of people, rightly so, are focusing on the blown lead. Still had a chance to win it there at the end, though, too, and just couldn't pull through.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, a movie. And you mentioned the end. You thought initially on the second to last missed 3 that the game was over. And then one of the Kansas players steps out of bounds.
Yes.
And North Carolina gets another opportunity. So even what we thought was the end wasn't really the end of the game, but just remarkable. I mean, obviously North Carolina fans are disappointed to lose in the national championship game. You have a 16-point lead, even though there's a lot of truth to what you said, Ben. Leads in basketball, kind of don't matter, but you still expect to win. It's just natural to look around and go, we're up 16. And then that finish, I mean, the last couple of minutes back and forth, big shots here, big shots there. There is a disappointment, and you hate to come up just short. I mean, Georgia fans, think about a couple of years ago when you lose the national championship. But I do think the memories will be this was a special team, special season. Coach Hubert Davis did an incredible job. And that win over Duke, I mean, the 2 wins over Duke, it's almost because the Final Four win was so iconic, you forget about the Cameron Indoor win. But that win over Duke, finishing Coach K's career there and then to advance on to the national championship, I think that'll still be what people remember, not the blown lead, not coming up. There at the end in the national championship game, but just drama, theater. I mean, can you imagine being a North Carolina fan and just dealing with the anxiety of those games, those finishes? But just what a season, what a finish for the Tar Heels. Not quite national champions, but still an incredible run.
Yeah, it's the tournament, right? I mean, you're going to see more games like you saw last night, the tournament, that you're going to see all year long during the regular season. If you talk about a team like North Carolina, BJ and PJ, who nobody was expecting to even go this far, right? Let's face it, nobody saw North Carolina being in the national championship. Nobody saw this much drama with North Carolina finally, meeting Duke in the Final Four. But I just think that we look at that, they had the blown lead. Look, it's tough. We act like Coach Bill Self ain't under a lot of pressure with Kansas to win this thing every year. They win the freaking conference every year. Just pencil in Big 12 champions every year when it comes to the Kansas Jayhawks. But I will say, North Carolina, man, look, that prestige is still there. I mean, you got beat by Kansas. Well, that's everybody, including you. Everybody got beat by Kansas in the tournament. I just think that sometimes the marathon known as the NCAA tournament, it's hard to finish the job. Like you say, up by 15 and got the momentum. They came back, but nothing to hold your head on. I think UNC is one of those teams to where Hubert Davis, who's also replacing the legend of Roy Williams show, they're going to be here for a long time. They came up short, but they'll definitely be a team to beat next year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if he can do that in the first year too.
Yes.
Because I was kind of paying attention to it and going back and looking at some stuff before the game last night and listening to some things about North Carolina. And, we're so involved with football season and everything like that. We don't get to see the ins and outs of every college basketball game. North Carolina was a wild team during the season. Like, they would win games, win solid games, and then lose games by like 15 or 20 points. And you're like, what is this basketball team? I think a lot of people, too, look at North Carolina, look at the name, look at the colors and whatnot, and forget they were an 8 seed. They were an 8 seed.
Probably needed the crazy shot they had to beat Syracuse to get into the NCAA tournament.
So like just thinking of where they kind of rebounded from and built from throughout the year and the momentum they got after beating Duke. If you're a North Carolina fan, I get it. You're allowed to be mad and sad today, but I think at some point they're going to be looking back. And of course, I was talking to Robbie Ross, good friend of the show, voice of Boston Stadium. And he was like, you think about all the guys that have came before that were great, but haven't been able to win that championship. Like the Duke win isn't enough. We got to get this done. You're there, go and get it done. At the same time, and I respect that, and I completely agree with him there. Like the Duke win wasn't enough. But at the same time, I think you're going to be able to look back and look at what Hubert Davis did in the first year and how they rebounded and built this team, especially late in the season, and go, holy cow. And hopefully, maybe you'll be talking about more national championships for North Carolina to come, building off this first season. But anyway, moving on to take two, guys. Switching over to baseball here, starting out here in a few days with the Atlanta Braves. How many games will said Braves win in 2022?
Thinking what, 91, 92, more than 90. I mean, I think this team, Kevin McAlpin was talking about it. It's hard to think about losing a Freddie Freeman, right? And still being as good, potentially, maybe being better in the regular season. I mean, it's crazy to think about, but I keep going back to the bullpen. It's easy to look at the lineups, and the Braves are very, very good. It's easy to look at the starting rotation, and the Braves are very, very good there, and kind of just forget about the bullpen. You don't talk about the bullpen normally as much as you do the position players and the starting pitchers. This bullpen is elite, and I'm with Kevin. If it's not the best, I don't know who has the best. I mean, even with the injury to Luke Jackson, Kenley Jansen, what an addition! That is game over. And you're thinking about if you're Max Fried, if you're Ian Anderson, if you're Charlie Morton, can you go 5? Because I think you have the depth. I think you have the talent, the confidence to carry 3-4 innings if you need to a night and win games and not wear thin because of the number of guys you have. So I think a couple of games better than last season. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the World Series. You got to get into the playoffs. You never know what that's going to take. And then the postseason is its own thing. But I think 91, 92, 93. I mean, I think this team's going to be one of the best teams in baseball.
Yeah, I'll be around that 94, 95 number, BJ, just because I want to make sure it's a little bit of cushion between you and maybe like the Phillies, or maybe even the Mets this year. But every year the Braves are similar around that 80, 88 to like 91. I think they won like almost 100 games, like not too many years removed from that. But I think as long as last year they were like 88 and 72 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that this year, around like you talking about, how many wins can that bullpen get you, BJ, that they didn't get you last year, with you seemingly having the best bullpen in baseball? I said that'll get you maybe like 7 more wins. So I'll say 95 because I do think this NL East is going to be very, very competitive. Not to say it hasn't been competitive the last 4 years, but I do think that around 95, I'll say, because I do think this team is going to find a way to win a lot of these series. And hey, man, 95 seems to be that. I don't think it got to be the magic number, but I'll go with 95 for like the win.
I'm right at that 90 number as well. Like I said, I just looked up their record from last year. I think it's going to be a little bit better of a team than last year. I know a lot of people are freaking out saying, but we just lost Freddie. But I mean, like you said, have picked up some really solid pieces, get some guys back that I'm looking forward to for sure. And I think there's going to be a little bit of that kind of mesh and chemistry that you're kind of building on throughout the early season. But like you said, BJ, I think this is probably going to be one of the best teams in baseball. You guys talk about the pitching and that bullpen. You go through the batting lineup, and Christian went through it the other day when you picked up Olsen, and I'm like, holy cow, like where's their spot in that lineup? Do you say that's really weak? I don't think there's really a big spot. So looking forward to see him hit as well. And I'd say kind of right at 90 there for the Braves. So we'll see how that goes. But guys, take 3. Which potential first-round prospect in the NFL draft are you most intrigued by entering here 2022? The draft only a few weeks away now.
I think Jordan Davis, and you guys know I've been a huge fan of his. Just fascinated by all he can do. That combine performance. I mean, his size. And Ben, you've talked about this. I think the scheme fit has to be right, and that can probably be said for every prospect. I know one thing you've always said that I've liked is when you hear people say, "Oh, he's a scheme player." Well, everybody's a scheme player. You have to be in a scheme that accentuates what you do. But I think Jordan Davis is, has been the tone setter for one of the best defenses we've seen in modern college football history. You talk about his size, you talk about his athleticism. Is he a guy that not only makes plays himself, but makes guys around him better? I think you could envision a scenario where he's in a 3-4. The linebackers are running free, making plays in space, attacking the offensive backfield. And it's interesting because you've seen a lot of wide-ranging projections with Jordan Davis. You've maybe seen some top 10, maybe he goes top 10. I think the most kind of consistent you've seen is 12 to 18, but you've seen some bottom of the first round as well. Could the Falcons be interested? Does he fall to a team like Tampa? Maybe does a team trade up that feels like this is the perfect scheme fit for what we do? So I'll say Georgia nose tackle Jordan Davis.
People call me cocky, but God knows how humble and confident I am, how much work I put in to even be able to make the statement. And that's all that matters. The position I play takes a lot of confidence and sometimes cockiness. That would be Sauce Gardner.
There you go.
Listen, at the end of the day, BJ, look, I know it's about Derek Stingley.
He's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
He's giving up 0 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
They've never scored on him. BJ, if Sauce, his name is Sauce, by the way, the nickname, but Sauce Gardner, right? And his teammate won the freaking Thorpe Award, Kobe Bryant on the other side. But BJ, if Sauce Gardner goes to Georgia, LSU, Florida, Alabama, he's potentially a top number 3 overall pick. But all I've done in college, I've never given up a touchdown. Oh, and I'm sorry. And we played Georgia. 0 touchdowns. All I'm saying is with a guy like Sauce, BJ, 6'3", ran a 4.4. And if you ever seen him on tape, he won't problems. He is a in-your-face, lockdown corner. I just think that we make it all. I think the one thing I'm always learning to do is guys that go to LSU and Georgia's and Penn States of the world, they don't need no pub. The guys that go to Cincinnati do, because we got to make sure we understand that, look, football is football, right? When you turn on the tape, man, listen, go get him Sauce. His name is Sauce. Give it to him by his family, perfected by him on the field. Put a receiver in front of a BJ, they ain't getting nothing. I want to see a 1.63 Sauce Gardner. Who do they compare him to in the league? A1 Jalen Ramsey. They say he has that type of skills.
Yeah, you actually, I was debating between 2. You took one of them. Think about how hard that is. That's like not once up 28-0. You lose focus a little bit, trip over your feet a little bit, and that guy scored a touchdown, but whatever. It's still 28-7. Not once did that happen
0.
in college. Not once. So that's amazing to me. Could he be the next like Richard Sherman or Darrell Reeve? He could be. Who knows? Also, it could go the other way. We'll see. I am insanely intrigued by Kayvon Thibodeaux, and I just think this has all the makings. And even talking with Christian about it earlier on Second Down, with this new is he 100% bought in on football? Does he take some plays off? Is he focused for every game? There's some problems coming up surrounding that. He's had injury problems. He might have the build for it, but is he in tune with it? All that has the makings for me. And from early on with all this, could he slide down to 5 to 10, whatever, of, all right, I got the body frame, I got the body for it, I got the motor for it, and now y'all are disrespecting me, and I'm slipping, quote unquote, out of the top 10. Let me get drafted at 12 or whatever and build that
Watch
edge.
out.
Yeah, and go crazy in the league. You know what I mean? So that's my intriguement there of Thibodeaux. And I've always been high on him. I think he's an incredible football player, but we'll see for sure. It can go one of 2 ways, so we'll see about that.
Thank you, PJ. That's Take 3. We'll come back. Anthony Trace will join us more on 3 and Out. Draft is coming up. The projections are out there. We'll see what happens. With us now to talk about his latest mock draft, what he would do with the upcoming picks from PFF. Good friend of the show, Anthony Trace. Anthony, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. So do we have a good sense for what's upcoming here, or do you think there could be, before we get into your picks, some unpredictability, some volatility in the first round?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be, those surprises, those, unexpected picks. I do think the one thing that's kind of stood out to me, and it's kind of been interesting. I mean, of course, on the betting markets, the one position that has no, over-under position listed is quarterback, right? You don't have anything listed for Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral, Sam Howard, Desmond Ritter. And that's because it is a very murky picture, and a lot of these quarterbacks across the league are ranked in very different forms. But I do think that the consensus is, from everything that I've gathered, is, Desmond Ritter is a top 3 quarterback, but most people still think that he's going to be a second-round guy. Now, he still could be a second-round guy, but I do think that there's a possibility that he could be somewhere in the first round, and pretty, I would say a little bit earlier than expected, maybe top 15, maybe top 16 there with the New Orleans Saints after that trade there. So I think that's kind of the one surprise that I'm kind of expecting. But of course, it could be wrong there, and there's plenty of more to come. That's for sure.
Anthony, when you think about the quarterback position, I mean, the one thing that really bothers me when you go into these drafts, it's always the same. He doesn't have the big arm, or he lacks mobility. This and the third. Look, you got a bunch of different type of quarterbacks in the National Football League now. Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest throwers of the football I've ever seen, and he still has 1 Super Bowl, and Eli Manning has 2. So how much is it they trying to compare these guys to the current crop too much to where you forget these guys can still be quality starters for 10 years?
Exactly. And I think last year in particular with Mac Jones, that was kind of the whole situation I put my foot on, and I was very, a big advocate for Mac Jones, just because, he's not the most flashiest guy in the world. But at the end of the day, the dude can play football. I mean, it's still, I think the most important aspect of the quarterback position is in between the ears. And if you have that, that's when I think you can have success at the NFL level. And with this quarterback class in particular, that's Desmond Ritter. I think he's the best processor in the class. But, just because he doesn't have, I think he has very good tools, very good athlete. I think he has a quality arm. I'm not really sure where the whole arm strength argument comes into him, where he doesn't have an NFL caliber arm. He certainly does, but it's not Malik Willis level, right? And I think that's when we kind of get obsessed with some of the tools and everything a little bit. So it is very interesting just to kind of see that, and the whole, who can you develop and who can you trust, right now, and kind of comparing to the high end of the NFL quarterback position, even too looking at some of the raw guys and expecting them, well, the Bills did it with Josh Allen. We can develop someone who's got a lot to work on in their game. But I mean, Josh Allen was a very rare exception to that. So it's definitely a very interesting thing to hear. And I think too, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, I was talking with an NFL defensive coordinator when I was at the NFL scouting combine about this. And, there's a big just worry across the league with some of these collegey offenses, right? I mean, they're kind of fake, as they call them. They're not anything that they're going to see in the NFL. And, two prospects in particular kind of come for that with Matt Corral and Ole Miss and Sam Howell and UNC. And it's very hard to evaluate those quarterback prospects. And, teams aren't willing to really risk on those types of quarterbacks just because they don't really know if they can handle, those complex reads in an NFL offense. And, the defenses, they're bigger, faster, and stronger. So it's a very interesting thing to kind of dive into, the whole evaluation process in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, going back to your original question, it's across the league, it's very different, but I think that is kind of an issue, with the way teams are kind of evaluating, and that kind of getting carried away with some of the stuff that isn't maybe as important at the end of the day.
Anthony Trace, you have your mock draft up, what you would do on PFF.com. You have Atlanta taking Desmond Ritter, who you mentioned. What makes him such a good fit? What would make him such a good fit in Atlanta? And do you think that's a pick the Falcons consider?
Yeah, I definitely think it's something that they would consider. I think, a few months ago, right after the college season, I think that they were probably thinking, or maybe they can get him at 43rd overall. But I don't think that's going to happen. Again, there's a small chance, but I doubt it. And I do think that there is a chance that they do take him at 8th overall. And, with him, I think he's very reminiscent to me of Marcus Mariota. And of course, Atlanta just signed Marcus Mariota, to that contract there. to, I think that would be a good kind of a bridge into Desmond Ritter. I think their skill sets are very similar. I mean, Marcus Mariota, he understands the game. He's a good processor. He's got that straight line athleticism, straight line speed, and that's Desmond Ritter. And I think that would be a good kind of fit for him. I would have liked Desmond Ritter in college to kind of get a little bit more feel with those, those under center play action concepts that have heavy sets there. But, I still think that he has the capability of doing that, just based off of everything that we saw from him this past year. I mean, he had 9 games with 0 turnover worthy plays. And that's extremely difficult to do, even at the group of 5 level. He led FBS in that category. So, I think that would be a good fit for him. Obviously the whole rest of the team, they really need some work there. But I do think that with the way Atlanta's kind of trending, they're definitely not going to be, ones that are, they're not going to want to throw in the towel for next year and wait for the next year's crop of quarterback. So I think if they're going to take one this year, I would like for them to take Desmond Ritter at number 8 overall. I think that'd be a good fit for them.
Anthony, the one term you hear a lot when it comes to the draft is a can't miss prospect. I mean, Andrew Luck, I remember, was a can't miss prospect. A guy like Trevor Lawrence was a can't miss prospect. Is there a can't miss prospect in this year's draft? And do you think Aiden Hutchinson is the clear cut number 1 overall pick?
Yeah, so as far as those can't miss guys, it's kind of hard to predict, but I do think Aiden Hutchinson, I'm not so sure he's going to be, I think he's going to be an exceptional player, and that's why I kind of think he's kind of belonging in that can't miss category. I think he has a very, very high floor. It's just about whether or not he can get to that generational, consistent, all-pro type of ceiling. I think he can, but I definitely think that, out of all these guys, I'd be more willing to say that he's more of the generational guy. But, as opposed to last year, of course, I think you could put Trevor Lawrence in there. I think you could put Kyle Pitts in there from, the tight end that's with Atlanta now, Jamar Chase, and Sewell belonged to that conversation. There were a lot of guys there. And I think really the only one I would feel comfortable with saying that is Aiden Hutchinson. But like I said, even if you stack them up with those guys, I mean, you're more comfortable saying that with Pitts, Chase, and Sewell and Lawrence. But yeah, I would say he's probably the only one. But I do think that, out of the defensive backs prospects, it's a little bit more difficult to, I guess, project, all, generational talent there. But I do think from a raw skill set, I think Derek Stingley belongs in that category. Of course, there's just concerns with the injury history. And I think Sauce Gardner, too, just given what he did in Cincinnati, the collegiate production. So, I think those 3 names in particular, kind of, I would say, get close to that category, but maybe not as firmly established as it was as some of those guys from last year's fall.
Is Hutchinson going to be the pick for Jacksonville, or is there still some uncertainty there?
I would be very surprised if it wasn't Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, a lot can change. I mean, we still got a few weeks here, but I would be very, very surprised if it wasn't Aiden Hutchinson. I think it would be a big, big mistake to go in the other direction, which would be Trayvon Walker. If it is Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, Trayvon Walker, he's a freak. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he has tools for days, but he has so much more to learn, with playing the game and his just pass rush skill set. I think it's going to take multiple years for him to even make a dent in the NFL. And that's where I'd be concerned. I think he's up at the very, I would say at the earliest I would take him in the end of the first round. So, that's kind of where I feel, where I'm feeling and vibing with Trayvon Walker. And I think Aiden Hutchinson should be the number 1 overall pick. And I think he will be in the end.
And then when you think about these wide receivers, I mean, this year, really, really deep at the wide receiver position, a lot of variety. You got the Drake Londons of the world, you got the Chris Olaves of the world, you got the Jameson Williams of the world. When you look at the impact that guys like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase have had straight out of college, do you think that puts more pressure on these guys not being able to really get acclimated to the position, have to come in ready to go?
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation. I do think depending on where some of these guys lands up, I think, for example, if Atlanta decides to go with wide receiver, at number 8 overall, I mean, that's going to be a lot of pressure for whoever that is, because they're going to have to step in right away and produce. And, in some cases, I think with this wide receiver class in particular, I'm a big fan of it. I think it's very deep, but at the same time, I think it's just full of very high floor guys that are going to be very good number 2s. I think the number 1 conversation with who can be that, consistent number 1 receiver, I think there's a handful of guys that belong in that conversation. I'm just not sure they're going to have that, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson impact, like you said. I think those 2 guys, those 2 former LSU Tigers, I think they're kind of rare exceptions to that. It's very rare to kind of see that. I don't think that we will see that with this class. But yeah, I think the pressure, does kind of get added on to that. I think it only increases too when you go to a team that's kind of needing that production right away. I think Jamar Chase kind of belonged in that boat with Cincinnati. I mean, he was expecting to kind of be the difference maker, and he was the difference maker in the end. So I think that definitely it adds to it. I think it's a piece of the puzzle, but maybe a little bit of a small one.
Your latest mock is a 2-round mock. How much depth is there in this draft, and can you get quality starters right away in the second round, you think?
Yeah, I need to update that 2-round mock. We'll probably get something out, hopefully maybe the end of the week, if not really next week, of course, published for the Eagles trade. But ironically, I had a feeling Eagles, they were going to make a trade, and I had to bake one in there, but it was with the Chicago Bears, not the New Orleans Saints, who gave up a lot more than I would have thought. But yeah, anyway, going back to your question, I think it is a very deep class. And, I just mentioned Chicago. If you're a team like them with you're picking in the second round for the first time, I think you're in a good spot. I do think that, the difference between, I would say, like pick 20 and pick 50 is, it's pretty slim in some cases. And of course, it's going to be depending on who's on the board, but you can get good players, I think, in the second round there, even towards the end. I think there's some positions that are getting a little undervalued. I think off-ball linebacker in particular, it's an exceptionally deep class there. Of course, edge defender, which is the deepest, and wide receiver, like I mentioned. And I don't think that cornerback isn't the most deepest, I would say. But I do think that there's going to be some very good corners available on day 2, because I'm expecting probably 4 to come off the board in round 1, whereas there probably should be 6, and you can make a case for even 7, or 6 actually, or 5 or 6. And so I do think that if you're picking, on day 2 for the first time, like a handful of teams are, you're sitting in a pretty good spot to get a pretty good prospect.
And then finally, I know, starting the show, first came on, we was talking about the quarterback position. You got, the Atlanta Falcons getting Desmond Ridder. All the talk has been about Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett. And you talk about Matt Corral and Sam Howell. And when it's all said and done, how many quarterbacks you think could potentially land in the first round?
I'm expecting 3 to land in round 1. And I think, Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett are kind of etched in there. Malik, I'm fine with. I wouldn't take Kenny Pickett in the first round or even really the second round. But I think it's going to happen. And then, of course, that's just the third quarterback. That's where the murkiness kind of is there. And like I mentioned at the top, I'm leaning Desmond Ridder just based off what I heard. The betting market kind of thinks Matt Corral, but if I'm making a prediction, I think it's going to be Desmond Ridder as that third quarterback in the first round. And like I said, he could be, top 16 picks. I would not rule that out at all whatsoever. So, I'm sticking with that 3 there. But of course, like I said, anything can happen on draft day. A lot of surprises there. So we could get a 4th or maybe even 5th in there.
Anthony Traish, PFF, our guest. Anthony, thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, guys.
Ben, do you think Jacksonville, I want to talk about Atlanta momentarily, do you think Jacksonville could be looking at a couple of guys, or do you think it's Aiden Hutchinson?
I think it's going to be Aiden Hutchinson, BJ, because I think what happens is it's kind of like what Anthony was saying. If you don't get him, and next thing you know, he's in your division or, in your conference, and he's killing you for the next, 4 to 10 years when you had a chance to get him. The best position to be in the draft with the number 1 overall pick, because I get first dibs at the best ones. Aiden Hutchinson has been, head and shoulders number 1 pick since he decided he was going to come out, BJ. But, BJ, anything is possible. But I do think because of what they're trying to build in Jacksonville, I think he's a guy they're probably going to have to try to build that defense around.
We'll talk Falcons next here on 3 and Out. Atlanta's at 8 in the first round of the upcoming NFL draft. BJ Bennett, Ben Troop here with you on 3 and Out. When I hear best player available, because I think that's the philosophy that a lot of people use when they do, the mock drafts, or they look at what a pick might be. I mean, is that you make a board, whoever has the highest rating, that's where you go, or does even that have some positional relevancy? And we've talked about this draft, really important for Atlanta. You think about Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith. What's their philosophy entering this draft? And with that 8th pick, I mean, you could go quarterback, you could go wide receiver, you could go edge rusher. Could an offensive lineman fall? How do you prepare for kind of the unknown? You don't know who's going to be there, but you certainly have guys you like.
You're going to have to get a guy, BJ, that's going to be a contributor. That's why I don't think they're going to go quarterback, because if you bring in Marcus Mariota to kind of be able to look around this division and say, okay, we got us a guy that's been a proven starter in this league, a guy that can help us go out there.
Who's still in 20?
28, 29 years old, still got some quality years left in him, gave him a 2-year deal. I think, BJ, if you are Terry Fontenot, right, show why they hired you last year. Show why you are GMs are team builders. That's what they do. They build a team. Coaches, they coach the team. So I do think that when you think about this Falcons team, BJ, I mean, look, they bring in a guy like Arden Tate, right? Not Arden Tate. I'm sorry. Is it Arden Tate?
Arden Tate.
Arden Tate. I'm sorry. Yeah, Arden Tate from from Cincinnati. He's a big body guy. Definitely going to be considered the number 1 receiver. I think you got to get a guy, BJ. Look, if they go offensive line, I can understand if you're trying to protect the future quarterback, maybe a guy like Marcus Mariota, make sure he stays upright. Because this is one thing we ain't realizing. I mean, Marcus Mariota got to stay healthy, because if he doesn't, I mean, what? Your backups, what? McElroy, Felipe Franks, who knows? But I just think that because you got so many holes, you don't have a number 1 receiver as far as like respected throughout the league. So do you still go receiver? Now, it gets interesting. If Kayvon Thibodeau is there, do you get him? Because BJ, I think Kayvon Thibodeau.
Do you think? Really, he's going to fall to 8?
Well, I look at it this way, BJ.
And I know you don't like, fall.
Yeah,
You're still going
he could. I will say this: certain players fit both. They are best player available, right? And they you drafted for need. Kayvon Thibodeau, you need an outside. You need a pass rusher. You need a pass rusher. How long have we been saying that? For Atlanta, they need a pass rusher, but they also need another corner. Also need another linebacker. They also need another safety. They also need depth at the wide receiver position. They also could use another offensive lineman, right? I just think that while 8 is a good place to be, because you got so many needs, whoever comes off that board has to play. Guess who's going to have to be key contributor 2022? The 2021 draft. All of them. Not just copy every last draft pick, because those guys obviously already penciled in to be on the team. You had to get rid of a bunch of guys. Your leading tackler of last year, he's now a Jacksonville Jaguar. You got to replace that. So I do think that while a quarterback, BJ, is intriguing, I think Marcus Mariota shored that up. It's Marcus Mariota, and I will say this now. Let me stop saying this about Marcus. Marcus Mariota could potentially go out there and have a resurgence, BJ, and say, "Wow, could he potentially be the future?" I don't know, because the guy that went number 1 in that draft, James Winston, he's in the same division, trying to resurrect his career as well in New Orleans. So I do think you got to get a receiver. Now, if Kyle Hamilton is there,
that would be a big surprise. It would be a shock at this point, right?
But hold on for a second. Okay, look how fast we can get to 8. All right, we're gonna say Aiden Hutchinson is gonna be number 1. Right? I think Evan Neal might be number 2. I think maybe like a guy. Detroit might get a quarterback, because I mean, are they really sold on Jared Goff? Right? So that's already 3 gone. I think that a guy that's going to go higher than people think. I think Sauce Gardner is going to go a lot higher than people think. Because BJ, Stages is great, right? But if I got a lockdown corner, Jalen Ramsey, look at what he does for a defense. Look at what he does for the other 10 guys. If Kayvon Thibodeau could drop to number 8, now BJ, if he's there, is it a no-brainer that you give him, or because think about this: if Kayvon Thibodeau is on the board, if Kyle Hamilton is on the board, which one would you go with?
I think for me, Thibodeau. You've needed consistent edge production for how long? I mean, for years. I mean, for quite some time.
Yes.
I think Thibodeau, and does he fall? I know projections say perhaps. I think he's going to go higher than what we're seeing. Who knows kind of what to believe with the pre-draft stuff. I think that would be about as good as you could do. And you have, picks second, third round,
Yeah.
but where you can address needs. But I think if you can get Thibodeau as kind of a number one edge rusher that for the longest time was projected to be the number one overall pick, I think that would be just a great get for Atlanta.
Because to let you know how quick you can get to 8, right? You go Aiden Hutchinson. You go Evan Neal. You go Travon Walker. You go Malik Willis. You go Sauce Gardner. You go Kyle Hamilton. You're already at 6. You're already now you're at pick number 7. I think what happens is, best case scenario, Kayvon Thibodeau drops. Because what I don't understand is this. Aiden Hutchinson came on. I mean, he came on at the end of last year. Kayvon Thibodeau has never dropped. He's never tapered off. He's been one of the best players, if not the best player in the Pac-12 since he's got there. BJ, the guy got to return punts a couple of years ago. Yes, the injury thing, but listen, we deal with injuries. How you bounce back, right? I still had double-digit sacks. I think the thing about it is, BJ, if Kayvon Thibodeau is there, you have to take him. But the thing is, it's probably going to be the thing about Atlanta is you want to, if Aiden Hutchinson is supposed to be the clear-cut number 1, and the guy that's been compared to him is right there at number 8, I think you take him. But it's a very, very unusual situation for the Falcons to be in because no more Matty Ice. So you got to be because the reason why I say that Atlanta was stable at the offensive side of the ball because they had Matty Ice for all those years. He can make anybody. He was still really, really good last year. And who did he have to throw to outside of Kyle Pitts? Well, Cordell Patterson, who did sign a 1-year deal, 2-year deal to come back with Atlanta. But yes, BJ, the quarterback situation for Atlanta is going to be a little bit different. But I do think for Atlanta, you got to get best player available and need for pick number 8.
You not considering a quarterback? I mean, I don't know if Ritter, as Anthony said. I mean, maybe Malik Willis,
so just say you do. Just say you get Ritter. Just say you get Ritter, though. You know what's going to happen. Marcus Mariota is the best quarterback on the team right now. If a first-round pick is there at quarterback, how soon does Marcus Mariota ain't really looking like because you know how it is, BJ. When's the last time a first-round quarterback sat all year? Trey Lance? Phillip Rivers? Phillip Rivers sat for 2 years because of Drew Brees. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years, I think? So what? Jordan Love is sitting. Trey Lance is sitting. You think if the next first-round pick sits Matty Ice, they're in Matty Ice went, 3? So now we got number 8. Here's the thought. When Andrew Luck was number one overall pick 14 years after Peyton Manning, did he sit? No. That hurts the growth of a quarterback, BJ, because while he's learning the game, he's losing. While he's learning the game, he's getting beat up. While he's learning the game, he's losing confidence. So by the time he's worth anything, he's already beat up. If they get Desmond Ritter, which, hey, I wouldn't be shocked. Desmond Ritter is one of the best quarterbacks in coming out because of what he did for Cincinnati, what he meant to Cincinnati, what he meant for for G5s. I think he's a good quarterback, BJ, but that would also mean, too, you know why I think Desmond Ritter got a better shot than Malik Willis, than a Kenny Pickett, than a Matt Corral? I think his skill set is real similar to Marcus Mariota. They have a really, really similar skill set. We'll see what happens, but if they go quarterback, I'll be very, very shocked because that means that Marcus Mariota is going to be the backup and, that 8th pick is going to be the eventual starter.
I think Thibodeau would be the home run pick, and again, you don't know what's going to happen. Don't be surprised. I think wide receiver is an option. You talked about Auden Tate. You signed some guys, but I still think you're looking at your wide receiver rotation saying, can you have that perimeter complement to Kyle Pitts down the middle of the field, like maybe a Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State? Don't be surprised. I think that could be a choice as well.
But I always know this, too. I know. Last time we was talking to Anthony Trace, and I was talking about Jamar Chase. I was talking about Justin Jefferson. Well, Justin Jefferson had Adam Thielen, right? A guy like Jamar Chase had T. Higgins. Boy. So it's not like T. Higgins who went for over 1,000. Adam Thielen, BJ, for which BJ, I know you don't like this, BJ, but he's one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. So I'm not taking away those guys are the exception. If you get a Drake London, Garrett Wilson,
maybe, yeah,
Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, it's not so much they don't have number one ability. Who do they got to show them the game? You don't think Adam Thielen showed Justin Jefferson the game? You don't think T. Higgins, even though he was going into year 2, told Jamar Chase this is what it is? Because if I got a guy on the other side, BJ, that's demanding attention, that means I can't give all the attention to the number one guy. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying they won't go wide receiver. Who's gonna show him the game? Because while Kyle Pitts put up numbers we never seen for a rookie tight end, 1 touchdown, and that was overseas.
We'll come back with more 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Got a short segment here, but did want to remind you, Braves, Thursday night, Braves and Reds defending the World Series championship. We are getting close. And you mentioned it with Kevin McAlpin. There was a time where we didn't know sort of what the season might look like or when, if there would be a season. Opening day Thursday, Braves, Reds, Thursday night.
BJ, the new unis. I mean, you saw them with the all gold trim, just but they about to break them out. Shout out to the Braves though, finding a way to get it done, doing that slow and steady approach. I mean, they understand that they're not going to be able to spend the money like everybody else, but establishing the Braves way. Alex Anthopoulos, BJ, 4 years in, 4 NL East championships, going for 5 in a row, but more importantly, going for that coveted repeat in pro sports, which is proven to be the hardest thing to do in pro sports.
Can they do it?
I think they can, BJ. I mean, I think when you think about what the Braves bring to the table, I mean, no Freddie Freed, Matt Olson, right? Marcell Ozuna should be back. We're gonna see when Ronald Acuna Jr. gonna be back. When is Mike Soroka gonna be back? BJ, you've won me. We won me over with starting pitching. Wins games. The best bullpen in baseball, best farm system in baseball. But we still got the worst mascot in baseball. I'm gonna just put that out there.
Max Fried, mentioned starting pitching, will be on the mound Thursday night. Braves, Reds. Braves defend that championship. We'll come back with more 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network, streaming live on the web, ESPNcoastal.com. Also with you on the ESPN mobile app. It is 3 and Out. Glad to have you here for the final hour of the show. BJ Bennett alongside Ben Troop. A lot to get to here in the final hour as we will chat Braves. We will chat Tiger Woods. Obviously going to go at the Masters this week. But earlier today, Savannah State announced the hiring of Aaron Kelton as the 27th head football coach for the Tigers. Previously, the cornerbacks coach and recruiting coordinator at Howard. And earlier today on Second Down, Christian Gokel had a chance to chat with the new head coach of the Tigers.
What has this process been like in your communications with Savannah State? When did that start? When did you receive the news?
It's been an ongoing process. We know it was pretty extensive in terms of length of time, but the last month has been really ramped up in terms of interviewing with the committee, and then coming on campus, and then an additional interview with Opio, one-on-one, and then the announcement was made, or I was informed that I would be the guy last week, and now I'm here. So this past month has been, they've moved pretty quickly to get all of this processed, and so it's an exciting time for all of us, for sure.
And not your first head coaching stop, but when you were looking at this job and decided to throw your name there for consideration, what was it about this job that made you think that, hey, maybe you could be the guy and this is something you wanted to do?
Well, it's a great university. They've had recent success, and certainly I felt like I could help sustain that, as we go. And then it really, appealed to me. The region is a rich region in terms of recruiting, and certainly we'll recruit Savannah and all, the entire state of Georgia and Florida and South Carolina for sure. And so it seemed like it was the right fit. I spent time just praying about it and talking to my wife, and God heard my prayer and certainly gave me this opportunity.
Tell the fans listening now a little bit about your history as a football coach, and then you mentioned your family there. Just a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, I'm a husband and father for sure, and life is wonderful. I'm originally from Boston, but started coaching. I've been coaching for 28 years now, I think, on a bunch of different levels. Was at MIT, was at Columbia, was at Virginia State, was at Concord University, head coach at Williams College, head coach at Shorter University, Morgan State University, Howard University, and then now here at Savannah. And so I believe I have, a solid resume that would help me in this process, and certainly, have recruited Georgia for double-digit years now, and so this just seemed like a good fit for me.
And we're certainly excited to have you here in the city, but of course, with any hiring is going to come a lot of scrutiny, and I know one of the things a lot of people have pointed out is a very unsuccessful term there at Shorter. I know a school that was transitioning and going through a lot of the time, but to the people out there who look at that 0-11 and 0-11 seasons there at Shorter and maybe have question marks about, man, like, is this really the person we want taking over a program that, as you mentioned, has seen a lot of recent success? What would you say to that?
Shorter was making a transition, and their transition into the Gulf South Conference has been one that's been tough. Certainly people in this region know about the Gulf South and the talented teams in that conference. And we at the time we had inherited a team that had 52 players And so it was really about building our roster the first year, basically, and a half. And then we were hoping that the things that we were doing in year two, where we were close to getting a couple wins and those things, it didn't come to fruition. But certainly we were hoping that year three would have shown the fruits of our labor, if you will. And so we didn't get that year, and we understand it. We accept the responsibilities for that because this business is a win business, but I know and believe that I'm definitely the right person for this job here at Savannah State, and we're gonna sustain the winning that we have here. Again, they're going through a bit of a transition from coming down from Division I, and so we've got to maintain players and this portal and all kinds of things to make sure that we're still successful, and so we're going to do that.
Aaron Kelton joining us on the show here. He was named the 27th head football coach at Savannah State earlier this morning. I know anytime a new coach is hired, it's a joyous experience for people in the administration, exciting time for the fan base. But I know for the players, this can be a very trying time because when you invest so much of your time and so much of your energy with a person, obviously you're going to develop a lot of emotional connections. And these guys who put trust into the people that come into their living rooms and say, hey, I'm going to take care of you for the next 4 or 5 years of your life. When they see that person exit, I know it can be an emotional time. And when you have somebody like Russell DeMasi, who took over after Sean Quinn leaves and kind of steered the ship for the past 4 months, for those people who maybe have some raw emotions right now, what do you have to say to them?
I'm grateful for all that Coach DeMasi has, did in this program for sure. We talked to him about any roles that he may want to consider with us, and so that was out there. But the thing is, transition's hard. It's hard for everybody, certainly. And, we're just going to try to be the best and do the best that we can with what we have, right? And, we just look for people who want to support us. We're moving forward in this process, and certainly we're looking forward to making sure that these men that we deal with every day get the most of us and the best of us as we go and as they go out into the real world. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to build on some of the things that they've done here in the past and bring some new wrinkles to continue that. And so, I hope that we can, through our hard work and efforts and people see what we do, that we're able to gain their support and they realize, Coach Kelton's done a pretty good job and I appreciate him for that. So
speaking of the staff, will any of the previous staff be coming over to this new squad here heading into 2022?
We're in the process of evaluating everybody, and there are a couple guys who have been around the program who have expressed, wanting to continue in the program, and so we're giving them a hard, honest look, and hopefully they'll be around for some continuity and to be able to just talk to the players and people in our fan base and just sharing this excitement that's ahead of us, and so there will be a couple guys and we're gonna make the most of it and do the best we can with it.
I've heard a lot of coaches verbalize this. Sean Quinn, when he took over at the school, Russell, obviously, who played in Savannah and at Georgia Southern, and now Clay Helton, the new head football coach up at Georgia Southern, speak about just the talent that's around just 100 square miles from where Savannah State is, from where Statesboro is, just the immense amount of football players that you can go out and build with. When you look at this, you kind of mentioned having some experience recruiting the state of Georgia before. What's your experience here with South Georgia, and how excited are you to be able to tap this recruiting base?
I'm extremely excited to be able to tap the recruiting base of South Georgia and the state of Georgia as a whole. You've got to turn over every stone and try to find all those good players. That's important. Players win games for sure. And so we've got to make sure that we're out when it's time for us to be on the road. We've got to get out and do our part and represent Savannah State and Tiger football in a great way and get some great players. We're going to recruit Savannah hard. Like you said, that 100-mile radius is extremely important because there are a lot of really good players, and so and we need them, and we're going to try to go get them. We're not going to slow down one bit when it comes to recruiting, and I've already had coaches and former players and people from the state of Georgia reaching out to me today, expressing that they have some players they want me to look at. So that process has already started for us, and we're excited to continue going with that process.
You were able to speak to the team this morning before the announcement was officially made. How was that? What was the mood like inside the room, and what were some of the conversations that y'all had?
It was a great experience. It was a chance for them to get to see me and know and at least eyeball me, okay, and hopefully they felt comfortable. But what I did for them was really let them dictate the meeting. I shared some of my background and who I was and some of my philosophy, and then had them ask questions because I know that they've been sitting waiting and had a lot of questions, and I wanted to make sure that I gave them the attention and opportunity to ask those questions. And then after, I probably stayed, in the room with them for another half hour to 45 minutes, just answering individual questions, meeting guys, and just talking to them about, who I am and what I hope happens for them in this program and here at Savannah State. So it went great. And then when I was walking across campus, a couple guys already yelled, "Hey, Coach, how you doing? Looking good," that kind of stuff. So that made me feel great. And I'm just looking forward to every day I walk in the door, and being able to work with these great young men.
Aaron Kelton joining us here on the show, named the head football coach at Savannah State earlier this morning. So tell us a little bit about you as a football coach. What are the philosophies that you're bringing here to Savannah State? I know a school that's had a lot of recent success here with kind of that Georgia Southern pistol triple option set and just playing really strong defense there on the other side. What kind of philosophies are you bringing here to Savannah?
Well, we hope that we're going to be able to build on that pistol style RPO offense, probably, a little bit more and we're going to try to incorporate a little bit more pass game in terms of that, as well as some tempo stuff, and get into some different sets so teams can't load the box on us. The other phase that we're going to be extremely diligent in terms of everybody being involved is our special teams, because I think that you can win a lot more games with great special teams, and so we're going to spend a lot of time making sure that we've got some great wrinkles in our special team game, our return game, our kickoff game, punt for sure, and punt return. And then on defense, I think that we're going to stay very disciplined, be fast and physical, run to the ball, and be a pressure type defense. We're going to make teams have to make decisions and make them in a hurry, and we want to create turnovers and create excitement. We want it to be an exciting game each and every play, and we're gonna work hard every day to make sure we can ensure that.
I know one of the biggest concerns for most Savannah State fans don't revolve around a singular person, but just kind of how the school's been used and looked at in the past as a stepping stone. And I know the administration made that a point in this coaching search that they did not want to be used as a stepping stone job anymore. So when you were talking to them about that 5-year plan and about the 10-year plan, what are your visions for this program going forward?
Well, I want us to be able to win the SIAC and qualify for the national playoffs. I mean, that's the ultimate goal for us. And I'm here. Like I'm committed to being here. I get it in terms of opportunities come for people, but that I'm not looking at any opportunity other than Savannah State. I want to make sure that our legacy here at Savannah State and Savannah State football is one in which people can just remain excited about and be the talk of the town. Okay, we want to be the small college talk of the town, and certainly, in this talent-rich state, we want to make sure that every household is saying, have you looked at Savannah State? They got a pretty good program going down there, and so. And I want people to say, Coach Kelton's been doing a good job. He's been there, 10, 12 years, and they've got some consistency and some stability in that program. And so that's important to me. But also at the same time, I want to be able to, work on our fundraising, bring some things in here so that our student athletes, get the best experience possible. That is fun for them, but they get a great experience due to our support and, alumni support and other supports out in the community, and that they're able to be a have and not a have not. That's important to me. So we're going to work really hard at those kinds of things.
Well, Aaron, we appreciate you taking the time on what I know has been a crazy few days. We appreciate you taking the time with us here, and I know the fans out there listening really appreciate it. We look forward to working with you as this goes, because I know just here personally for me and the people at the station, we want to see nothing more than this program thrive, because like I've said since the beginning, it's like, yeah, you can go to Statesboro, you can go to Athens to watch a game, but there's also college football taking place right in our backyard. So wish you nothing but the best, man, and look forward to working with you going forward.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Christian, and certainly that's a great message to have, because there's going to be some great football that's played here at Savannah State.
The Masters will start on Thursday, and Tiger Woods is going to be in the tournament. BJ Bennett, Ben Troop back here with you on 3 and Out. Tiger said at a press conference earlier today, quote, "As of right now, I feel like I am going to play. As of right now, I'm good to play 9 more holes." Talking about today, my recovery has been good. I've been very excited about how I've recovered each and every day, and that's been the challenge. Tiger was then asked if he believes he can win the Masters this week. Ben, his response, "I do."
Tiger Woods has officially made it official, BJ, that he is going to play. I think it's great for the game of golf. I think it's great for him. 14-month layoff, and I think this was always the plan. The Masters is very, very intriguing. I had a chance to speak to our very own Rich Styles earlier. He talked about it. It's the magic of the Masters. It's about the moments. I think BJ, if he can win, I think it will be his 5th Masters tournament win.
He's going out there to win. I mean, as the quote said, Tiger Woods is not going to play in the Masters unless he feels like, and that's why I know it seems improbable. I know it seems, couple of weeks ago we weren't even thinking about this. I think you absolutely have to think he's going to be there. He's going to be in the mix.
Well, BJ, he's that exception, right? We've been blessed in our lifetime to see certain people that are the exception. Michael Jordan is the exception. Kobe Bryant is the exception. Tom Brady is the exception. Usain Bolt was the exception. Simone Biles, the exception. Serena Williams, the exception. Tiger Woods is the exception. Because the thing is, we act as if this was the only time they counted out Tiger. No, they counted him out 2 years ago when he kept trying to play in tournaments and his knee just wasn't able to hold up. Goes to the Masters, BJ, and he wins it. I think sometimes in life and in sports they collide. When you talk about a guy like Tiger Woods, he's bigger than the sport of golf. He's an icon walking. But BJ, if he does this one, right, where would it rank? Because Tiger Woods got some of the best moments in the Augusta that we've ever seen. He's the reason why the entire golf course was remodeled. Was because when he did that one year when he just blew away the competition. But BJ, I'm happy for Tiger Woods because he's doing it on his own terms. Sometimes you just got to give your body time to heal. Sometimes you got to have a plan to stick to the plan. He says he's going to play another 9 holes before he goes out there on Thursday. But Tiger Woods is indeed playing in the Masters.
And we talked with Rich Styles earlier in the show. I mean, he was there yesterday talking about just the energy. I mean, what a story. Captivating, Tiger Woods. I mean, you can be a golf fan, but if you're not a golf fan, maybe you're not even a sports fan, this is a story that has your attention. The gravitational pull, the greatness, the all-time allure. I mean, the ability, like you said, to just show up when nobody thinks it's possible and get it done and win. And listen, you have great golfers. It's the Masters. I mean, the best in the world are there, but the spotlight's on Tiger Woods, and I think if you count him out, I mean, we've seen what happens there. He's going to be there, and if he's there on Sunday, the storylines, the attention, wow. Tiger Woods in the Masters, going to give it a go, and I know everybody's super excited.
It's about the moments. It's about the memories. Tiger Woods understanding now, BJ. I mean, you look at the last time he won. He's on the 18th hole. As soon as he sunk it, I mean, the jubilation that he showed, the enthusiasm that he showed, hugging his kids. His son now is the golfer. Which what else was he gonna do? Surprise with his life. But I think that when you think about BJ, certain people understand what they mean to the sport while they're there. LeBron knows what he means to basketball, right? Tom Brady understands what he means to football. Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, they know what they mean to soccer. Guys like Mike Trout, they understand what they mean to baseball. Tiger might be bigger than all of them, and that's taking nothing away from none of them. But yes, BJ, right now, if you were in Augusta, Georgia, you would happen to be on Washington Road and you noticing that the traffic is just gridlock, bumper to bumper. It's because one man. Christian showed me his practice round. I said, look. Yeah,
it was crazy. The crowds were crazy.
I said, Christian said, don't just look at the people on each side. If you can see far down, far down the range, look at all those people waiting. Certain people, BJ, look, you literally wait on them. Tiger Woods is worth being waited on. But if Tiger Woods does come back and he performs well, BJ, and he makes the cut, how much different is that leaderboard with Tiger Woods in contention?
I don't think we're just talking about making the cut. And maybe these expectations are unfair. I mean, maybe it's unfair to look at Tiger Woods and say, you haven't been healthy, you haven't played, very serious in terms of, what happened and were you ever going to be able to be 100% physically? And now we're talking about could he win the Masters? But I think this quote, again, asked if he believes he can win the Masters, I do. And he's not going to say that unless that's the case. And recent history, what he's shown he can do when everybody thinks, yeah, it would be too good to be true. He's not going to come back and make a run. He's not going to come back and be there on Sunday. And there he is. And there he is winning. So maybe it is unfair. I don't know. It's natural to get excited, to think about what could be. And I don't know if we look back on this and go, maybe we all got caught up in it and perhaps the projections weren't fair.
Yeah.
But when you're the GOAT,
when
you've done it time and time again, this is what people are, and that's greatness. This is what people are going to think. This is what people are going to expect, that not only are you going to play, and it's amazing, like as soon as he showed up, we all went, he's playing, when he's saying, I don't know yet. And now we see that he is going to play, and the expectations are not make the cut. The expectations are not, it's going to be great to see him out there. And it is. The expectation is, we think, as improbable as it seems, as unlikely as it would normally seem, that he's going to be right there on Sunday. And he's going to captivate the world. And he's going to have everybody else watching his greatness again Sunday in Augusta. And I don't know if that's fair, but I think he's confident. I think he feels good, as he said. And that's just what you want heading into the Masters. Tiger Woods believing, feeling good. And when that's the case, watch out.
Well, BJ, I mean, you keep on talking about expectation. The hardest thing for any athlete to do is to get people to understand who he or she is when you talk about not betting against them. There are certain people you don't bet against. It's not unrealistic because it's Tiger. Like, if anybody can do it, it's Tiger. Tom Brady's been to 10 Super Bowls. He's won 7. Michael Jordan went to 6 finals, never lost. Certain people just exceed the expectation level of people through the way they play. The Mamba mentality, man, he rest in peace, Kobe. BJ, making you believe, though. It's not making you believe, it's making you believe how they believe. Like, I believe that Tiger can do it because that's how Tiger believes. I believe like he does. Mamba mentality, that's how Kobe saw it, so I see it like he sees it. And I think BJ, once again, if he can add another incredible memory to his already iconic, historic, monumental career, it's because, in 2 words, it's Tiger. I'm just saying.
How fun's Thursday going to be?
And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, BJ, because the thing is, look, okay, BJ, we're going to go ahead and put that there. One of the people you want to meet in life, one of the heroes, obviously, outside of your dad and your brother and your grandparents, is Deion Sanders. Because of what he means and what he meant to the sport that he played at the college that he went to. So if you're in front of him, you're thinking, what you're trying to do is, I'm trying not to ask him what I really want to ask him, but you finally go, and we got 5 minutes. Deion, what is it like being you? You're going to ask him, because it's like he keeps, his persona just won't go away. We in Atlanta, watching the Falcons, watching the Rams, and all of a sudden, man, hurry up with the game. Prime. We look up, and we all trying to act like we ain't mesmerized. Certain people just mesmerize you. Tiger Woods, I ain't never seen nothing. On David Letterman, his dad said he going to be the greatest. And he's like, yes, he has been. He on there with a freaking Fisher Price freaking golf club. Nobody ever thought anybody would challenge Jack Nicklaus. Nobody. I think Tiger Woods needs one more major. No one ever thought that anybody would challenge the Grand Slams when it comes to tennis. That goes Serena. Certain people are built to just dethrone everything. Tiger, look, man, love the fact that I'm not in Augusta, because I can only imagine that traffic right now.
Tiger Woods going to give it a go at the Masters. We'll come back, get you ready for Braves baseball on Thursday. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Hawks have been playing great basketball. You'll hear Hawks and Raptors later tonight. The Hawks are up to 41-37 on the year. The Raptors 45-33, but Atlanta's really moved up in kind of the play-in standings situations there in the East.
BJ, I think this Hawks team is showing a lot of, they're showing a lot of poise, showing a lot of resilience. I mean, we'll see what happens toward the end, towards the end of the, what 3 or 4 games left, I think, left in the season. I mean, Nate McMillan, now to, take the interim tag off, now the head coach. We'll see if Trey can lead them down the stretch. Locals there staying active on the defensive end. They got a shot. Clint Capella, keep on doing what you're doing, rebound.
And of course, we know what happened last year with the run in the postseason. It's a little bit different. You're going to be in that again, play-in format.
Yeah,
but do you think this team can make a run or at least scare some teams?
I think they can scare some teams more than make a run, BJ, because they showed that in a one-game series, they got a shot to go out there and play with the best of them. Usually play better against a team like Miami and Milwaukee, but different year, different team. We'll see what the final result is.
Trae Young, remarkable. I mean, what he continues to do. I know Clint Capella rebounding, but give this team a lot of credit. Not long ago, the record was not great. Got off to a slow start, but again, you'll hear Hawks and Raptors later tonight, but 41-37. Been a really impressive last couple of weeks for Atlanta.
Been very impressed by him. Trick or trade, BJ, as you mentioned, everything starts and ends with him. He's going to be the floor general. Bogdanovich has come along late. I think they're going to have to play a lot of team basketball. I mean, Collins, I don't know the health of him right now, but they seem to be playing their best basketball, BJ, but that playing always scares me.
Want to thank Rich Styles. Again, Tiger Woods. Going to go at Augusta. Want to thank Rich Styles, who was in Augusta yesterday, Back Nine Boys, for joining us. Kevin McAlpin, Braves Radio Network, Anthony Trace, PFF. And again, Christian had a chance to sit down with Savannah State new head football coach Aaron Kelton as well. Want to welcome him to Savannah. And we will see you tomorrow, 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, ESPNCoastal.com. We will have Kevin Thomas back here with us in a few days. But later tonight, you will hear Hawks and Raptors. And again, Thursday night, Braves taking on the Reds as Atlanta looks to defend a World Series championship. Opening day for the Atlanta Braves on Thursday. We will see you tomorrow, 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network, ESPNCoastal.com.